Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. This is Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is our weekly podcast, the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is podcasting podcast, where we do Star Wars things and other nerddom and fandom things. One of the things that I find hilarious is that every once in a while, whenever, I'll post something on Facebook, something that we're like into. I think this week it was Joe Locke's character from Agatha All Along. One of the comments was like, you're a Star Wars page, or like, why are you posting this? And it's like, first of all,
sir or madam or them, do you even watch this show?
Yeah. Also, shut the fuck up. Like, we'll decide what this channel is. Like, you don't get to say that. So this week there's some Star Wars news this week.
There's a little bit,
which is nice because there hasn't been a lot of Star Wars since.
Well, I think we're all just kind of hibernating until Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Agatha All Along this week, that episode was fucking a lot of fun, and we're going to talk about that. And then HBO's The Penguin, which is honestly just in 3 episodes shaping up to be possibly, like, it's way better than I thought like it had any right to be. And
I'm still not convinced this is a show that had to be set in the Batman universe. Not yet.
It could just be a mob thing.
It's just a crime drama, but it's really well done.
I love that it is happening in the Batman universe, so I think that's pretty neat. While you're here, go follow us where we are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord, and make sure you interact with the stream. Give us a comment. I'll be reading comments in between shit and all that other stuff. Right after this, we finally are continuing our Buzz Recap series.
God, it's been months.
Yeah, I had a surgery a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't allowed to drink alcohol for like the first week.
Truly a fate worse than death.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wasn't allowed to drink alcohol for like 2 weeks or something, which was fine because I don't drink a lot anyway. Not anymore, but
you're ruining my joke.
Yeah, I know, it's okay. But yeah, that'll be at like 7-ish. And we're doing Game of Thrones season 7, which will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Is this the part where like the car dives off a cliff?
It depends on. I'm gonna mention this when we start. At least I hope I remember to. I'm gonna, like, the next 2 seasons, like, the fan reception wildly varies, and when we're doing the recaps, I'm gonna try my best to relay the writer's intentions, and present the things that happen, even the things I don't love, in the light that I think hoped that they would have been received.
Okay.
Right? Sure. Because it happened.
Yeah.
That show happened. What happened on the show happened. There's no changing that. And, like, you got to learn to live with it. Otherwise, it'll just eat you alive, and you'll spend the rest of your life bitching about Star Wars The Acolyte or something on Facebook.
Or
right?
You'll be George R.R. Martin and write a really bitchy blog post about it and then delete it the same day.
Yeah. Well, that was about House of the Dragon, though.
Yeah.
Which, how dare he? All right. Jodie Turner-Smith has spoken out about Disney's lack of support for the cast of The Acolyte during online harassment. She pointed out that the company didn't take enough public action to defend its actors, especially when it came to dealing with toxic racist attacks. And I want to look at some of the shit that she said, but I found this an interesting thing. This was being shared in all the obvious places, like and on some like Star Wars groups where the worst people in the world come out and they make everything about their little culture war that's raging in their mind, and
fucking woke Disney ruining Star Wars,
right?
Thereby proving her exactly right, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that
like, really genuinely, if you disagree with what she said, if you find it at all objectionable, you are the problem.
Yeah, you're probably
you are who she's talking about.
Yeah, she Jodie Turner-Smith. This is the actor that played Mother Anastasia.
Bang up job, by the way.
Yeah, she did great.
Yeah.
Criticized Disney for
essentially just standing there and letting the stars of their shows get screamed at by the worst people in the universe.
Yeah, particularly Amanda Stenberg.
Yes.
Who was the target of the most disgusting racist bullshit in the world. And like, no one deserves that. And it's weird how much mis and disinformation there is online about her in particular, about projects that she was involved in the past that were made to look like comments about those projects that were made to look like she was going after Star Wars fans and all this other shit. And I appreciate that Turner Smith gave her a shout out for the effort that she put into that role, because she plays two entirely different characters and does it well. She really sells that they're two different people. Yeah. May and Osha are my favorite characters in that series. But that's not her thing. No. She did a great job acting those roles and everything. And it's kind of, we talk about this every couple of weeks. Something like this happens where
oh no, there was a black person or a woman in Star Wars,
right?
And people just lose their fucking shit over it.
The other thing too is that I see often, because I mod for another Star Wars group in addition to the stuff that we do, and I will often see some people argue it's like, well, both sides are pretty bad at that, and it's like, no, one side is worse than the other. Like, one side threatens to sexually assault and or kill actors in shows that they don't like, and
the other side
doesn't do that.
Measured criticism
doesn't do that. They don't do that. Just that alone.
Yeah, just
they are not the same. So fuck off.
Yeah.
So I feel like this was pretty ballsy, because it's kind of like when John Boyega did this, and he was like, you know what, fuck Disney, and fuck them for not, for kind of just putting me on the back burner, my character on the back burner, like it was racist and it was shitty. Yeah. And he walked away from it thinking, well, I'll probably never work for Disney again, but you know what? I don't fucking care. Yeah. And what do you know? The reports say that Disney has courted him hard.
They backed up a dump truck of money, and he more or less walked back those comments.
Yeah. So
it also contrasts with Obi-Wan, when that came out and Moses Ingram was targeted with the same bullshit, and
Ewan McGregor
went out on social media and said, hey, fucking knock it off.
Yes. And that's hard for that group of fans, and I call them fans because they're not. It's hard for them to reconcile their cognitive dissonance, because Ewan McGregor is seen as a savior figure in Star Wars, where people universally love his portrayal of Obi-Wan and his version of Obi-Wan. Yeah. And they pretty much have to ignore, just pretend like he didn't say it. It's kind of like, because Mark Hamill is insanely political on social media, but not
at all on the side of these fucking insecure man babies.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is like, you're gonna go like 12 rounds against Luke Skywalker.
You're gonna lose every time, because I can tell you what, there's one character in Star Wars that's more beloved than Obi-Wan Kenobi or Anakin, and it's fucking Luke Skywalker. So good luck with that. I did see that there was like an anonymous TV executive, I guess, explained that studios often they avoid engaging with conversations like this because they believe that it'll only fuel a fire. I think it's bullshit. I think they don't engage because they don't give a shit. Because it doesn't make them money,
right? And there isn't much of a reason for them to, and they benefit from that conversation having taken place, because
conversation.
Yeah, because
there's no actual ideas exchanged back and forth.
Right.
It's just noise. Just a terrible person spewing hatred.
Right. The thing is that causes outrage, which drives engagement, which makes them money. Yep. So they it's in their best interest not to shut stuff like this down. And that's also really shitty.
And if it fucking burns out and turns off talented minority actors, well, there's always more where they can be found.
Yeah. So I don't know. Will they learn? Probably not. They, that's why when people call us Disney shills, it's like,
again, you do not watch the show.
Yeah, because you don't know how often I think it would be amazing if a corporation like Disney just burned to the ground. Yeah.
And at the same time, you would know if we were Disney shills, because it would not cost them very much.
Yeah. So Ewan McGregor recently shared that discussions have taken place with Lucasfilm about a potential second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi, sparking, as you can imagine, some excitement among fans. As during a panel at LA Comic Con, he said he expressed his desire to explore more Clone Wars content and to wear Obi-Wan's armored attire from that era, which it was a nod to fans, because like who wouldn't want to see that,
Sure.
Were you going to say something?
Narratively, even the first season of Obi-Wan probably shouldn't have happened. But I like, unless they really are just going to have it be set during the Clone Wars, I don't think they should make another season. It doesn't make, like, it would make Disney a shit ton of money, but it would not make sense.
Or it might not, depending on if they put on Disney. So I don't know if I agree that it shouldn't have been made. I just think it should have been made better than it was.
Oh, true.
But I agree that I can't imagine. I like put together a couple of like story ideas, but I cannot imagine Obi-Wan ever leaving Tatooine again
After what
happened in the first season. Yeah, it's like Obi-Wan learned his lesson, right? You're there to protect the kid. You left. The kid almost fucking died.
Yes.
Like was this close?
Like, as a direct result of actions you took while away from the kid nearly fucking died.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure. And they've already kind of blown their load with the Obi-Wan versus Vader thing.
Yeah.
Like that's already happened. They can't do it again.
They cannot do that again.
Yeah. Because otherwise it just becomes kind of cheap, and it's like, oh great, Obi-Wan and Vader are fighting. Which, by the way, before this, like, we thought they hadn't spoken to each other since episode 3, and so
that's one of the parts that I have issue with narratively, because it just makes less sense.
I don't like that they fought twice.
Yeah,
and this is something we knew going in.
It's a little gratuitous.
Like, that's one of the things that Kathleen Kennedy just spoiled about the like a whole year before the show came out. She's like, yeah, they fight twice.
If you're going to criticize Kathleen Kennedy, like, criticize her for shit like this, where she just can't stop herself from spoiling what should have been probably the best part of the show.
Yeah. I was thinking that, like, they could do a Tatooine criminal underworld thing where he goes up, against Hutts or like Hutt proxies or Cad Bane at some point or something. The thing is, they have to be careful about the named famous characters that he runs into, because, like, if Boba Fett finds out that Obi-Wan's on Tatooine, he's going to go and tell Vader. Yeah. He's going to go tell the Empire, because like that'll make him money, right?
Like, if you're bringing in anyone that we know from the rest of Star Wars, that they cannot find out who Obi-Wan is.
Right. They could do more shit with Leia, like younger Leia, especially if they use the same actor that played Leia in the first season. And like her whole thing with her involvement in the rebellion early on in her life, and not realizing that Bail and Breya were founders of the rebellion, and not knowing until later in her life and everything.
Could be a neat little Endor tie-in, actually.
Yes. Yeah, it could. They could do a lot of Vader stuff in this still. Yeah. Like, still don't have Obi-Wan and Vader.
Like, at that point, though, I feel like they're getting a bit far away from an Obi-Wan show, and just generally
doing a Vader show.
This is the stuff that led up to episode 4.
Right. Which, by the way, do a fucking Vader show then. I'll watch it.
Shit, like,
you own James Earl Jones's voice.
Yeah.
So
plus, there's a ton of good ideas from the fucking Vader comics. You could borrow a couple of those, or just make some new original shit. Just show me a Vader murder tour,
or some live action. Like the Jedi the other Jedi he's hunting down. Like that'd be really neat. But I think we agree they can't meet up again.
No.
Because then at that point, when you watch episode 4 and he's like, that's not a feeling I've felt since. And it's like, you just fought 4 hours ago. Like, what do you mean?
It has not even been a day, dude. Come on.
He was in Obi-Wan season 8. you literally fought right in front of the Lars homestead with the dead bodies of Owen and Beru sitting there, and like right before Luke got back. And it's like, fuck off. We don't want that. Another cool thing, I mean, they could do the Obi-Wan Qui-Gon thing, which I think would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
We were talking about this during the Battlefront stream the other night. Like, my Kenobi book is over on my desk because we're talking about it. It was a book that was published right before the Disney acquisition of Star Wars, and how that's practically Obi-Wan Kenobi season 1 before it was a thing, right? Yeah. And the whole story happens on Tatooine. he only deals with rando moisture farmers out in the sticks that don't know anybody. And there's a little action, and there's a thing he gets involved with, and it's a smaller scale story, and it involves his frustration with like every night being like, Qui-Gon, are you there? And just not hearing anything, right? And balancing his depression from all of his friends dying and him being out there alone, and
living in the middle of a shitty fucking desert, watching a kid grow up.
Yeah. So yeah, they could do something like that. Okay. This made me very happy.
Okay.
Star Wars Jedi Power Battles is making a return.
Oh, that's fun.
And everyone's freaking out. I think everyone my age is freaking out because I played the shit out of this game when I was in junior high. This is the 25th anniversary release. And it's being done by... Okay, so first of all, they're doing it for PC, PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox. It's coming January 2025, which we will be playing it when it comes out. We already played it a little bit, but it was like on a shitty PS emulator. Yeah. And this is going to be done by the same guys that did all the other like ports that they've done of the other games, which, depending on which one you're looking at, were good or not good. So the coolest thing about there's a couch co-op, like cooperative thing. Yeah. And it goes through the story of the game is Star Wars Episode 1. Yeah. Except that all the Jedi are involved. So like you can pick what Jedi you want to play. And in the original game, the one that I had, you could be Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan, but you could also be Mace Windu back when his lightsaber was still blue.
Because no one had actually seen his lightsaber by that point.
Adi Gallia, who had a red lightsaber that she held right the fuck upside down.
Scandalous.
Yes. You could be Plo Koon, who had a yellow lightsaber. Okay. And I feel like there was like one more, wasn't there? There might not have been. Maybe. That might have been all the ones you could do. Well, let me know in the comments if I've forgotten one. And the cool thing is they all have their own different styles. So like Plo Koon is like very slow, but like hits like really hard. Yeah. And they all had their like different force powers. So like Mace Windu did this really neat thing where he would just throw his lightsaber and it would just twirl around him in a ball and would just kill everyone around him. And like Plo Koon had like a shockwave or something, and Obi-Wan could like move real fast or something like that. But this game, I loved this game. I played it so much as a kid, and like when let me just say, we will be spending time with this when it comes out. Before we move on, real quick, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Rakesh says, Kenobi! Yeah, no, fuck that guy, right? Okay.
General Kenobi.
So there was a Hollywood Reporter piece that I saw a couple weeks ago. We didn't do it last week because I wanted to because we didn't have time talk about it. Yeah, but it's more or less like, okay,
is Disney bad at Star Wars?
Yeah, is Disney dropping the ball on Star Wars or not? And it's
they go down all the various live action Star Wars projects and say, these were pretty good, these were pretty bad, but they also spent a lot of money on these, but they also made a shit ton of money.
Yeah, right.
So like, where's the final?
So the first thing to take into account is the fact that this acquisition was in 2012, and sometimes I forget how long ago that was, because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. I guess
it was 12 years.
It's maybe because I'm now 80 years old that I've become so elderly that everything just feels like it was yesterday. Yeah. Or that like 2020 lasted for 8 years, because it kind of felt like it did. Yeah. And I remember when everyone is like really excited about having a new Star Wars movie, but there was a lot of anti-Disney sentiment at the time. Why? Because people, who the fuck knows? I think the main concern at the time had nothing to do with like the culture wars thing that we see today, because
that wasn't as much of a thing.
Yeah, it hadn't infected our culture quite as much.
It didn't really take off till like 2016 or so.
Trump. Yeah. And toxic right-wing politics. Yeah. And I think the thought at the time was,
Disney is for children. It's cartoons and cutesy things.
Yeah.
And they're going to turn Star Wars into a thing for kids. And it's like, well, it was already a thing for kids. It's just that.
But it was also one in which the very first movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi turns on his lightsaber and chops an alien's arm off, and you can see like dripping blood on the floor.
Yeah. That's not the worst thing a kid probably saw in 1977.
It's for kids.
Yeah. So a couple of the points that they bring up that are undeniably a problem for Disney Star Wars in the current day, which is first and foremost the film franchise inconsistency.
Yes.
Between the three mainline trilogy pieces having different. Well, the original plan was to have different directors for every one.
Yes.
And famously, the third one.
They had no plan. Like they had no plot outline that all three directors were supposed to follow. They just said, here, you make a movie and then you take wherever it was and you make a movie and you take wherever that is and finish it.
Right. Now, they were trying to recapture the magic because that's kind of how the original trilogy was.
Yeah.
People don't realize this. First of all, George Lucas did not write and direct. He wrote and directed one of the original films, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And out of the three original films, the one he did was the worst one. If you're comparing them just against each other, okay?
Yeah.
Not saying it's a bad movie, just saying.
Yeah.
So he directed A New Hope. It nearly killed him.
Yes.
And so he was like, you know what?
Let me just farm this out to someone else who wants to make a bunch of money.
And so Irving Kershner wrote the second one and was directed by.
I believe he directed it.
Irving Kershner directed it. Who wrote it? The guy that wrote The Bodyguard. Fuck.
I don't know.
Alexa, who wrote Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back?
The Empire Strikes Back is a film written by George Lucas,
Lawrence Kasdan.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Alexa, shut the fuck up.
Everyone at home with an Amazon thing is just having it go off now.
And then the third one was directed by Richard Mark. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
And I think that they're like, oh, this is kind of like there was that organic Star Wars thing that had a different director for everyone, and like all of them were like a little bit different. And they did make the story up as they were going along.
Yeah.
I don't care what George Lucas says. He didn't know where the story was going when he wrote the original, and we know this because the original intention was for there to be a love triangle between Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford. And
didn't work out that way.
And that's why there was some brother, sister, kissy, fucky stuff. And then they...
Who among us hasn't kissed our siblings on the lips?
Christy, do you want to talk about something?
No.
So you want to get your
I am not taking questions at this time.
Yeah, I will be answering. I will not be issuing an apology.
Anyway.
So, like, I think they were trying to, like, capture some of that.
Yeah.
It didn't work out because now, this time around, fans were watching. It wasn't... Star Wars didn't take the world by surprise. Fans were watching. They'd already been invested for decades, and they expected things to be tight and thought out and superb, like, excellent, right? And that's not what it was. And I think that The Last Jedi was an improvement on The Force Awakens, which was just a kind of a tired retread of A New Hope.
I mean, it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's just nothing new.
A little unoriginal.
Yeah. Last Jedi was massively original, was a huge swing, and I think a hit. But because there are loud man babies on the internet, they felt like they had the course correct, and they knee jerked, and they went back to something safe and weird and nostalgic and
bad.
And it just came off as bad. Like, it's not very good.
We should mention in between those two, they also made Rogue One, which fucking kicks ass.
Yeah.
And Solo, which decidedly does not kick ass.
Right. And
like,
I think
I like it, but I can accept that it's not a very good movie.
Yeah. I don't have the movie is fine for me. I think that when Solo came out, we had got into peak like Star Wars exhaustion, where it's like they're making one of these motherfuckers every 6 months. Like, Jesus Christ. And that's right around when they made the turn to Disney Plus. It's also right around when Bob Iger left and all that
like,
bullshit.
You know what? Maybe we should just chill on this a little bit.
They also mentioned the Disney Plus.
So all the Star Wars Disney Plus things, it's an entire wash, and we will never know the extent we'll never know the extent of how truly successful or not successful any of these things are, because they'll never make any of those actual metrics available to anyone, right? They will make overall broad metrics available to their shareholders because they're legally required to, but it will never be anything specific. All we have to operate on some of these things are just rumors, right? And some of them are well-sourced. For example, so like Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 hit. Yeah, people fucking loved it. Ahsoka, people mostly liked it. Yeah. Andor didn't have a super high viewership, but the people that watched it were like, "Holy shit, this is so good,
fucking good." Yeah. Book of Boba Fett.
People weren't. Yeah, and people weren't very crazy about Mando season 3. And then
Obi-Wan.
People were excited
people watched it.
It's like the inverse of Andor, right? Yeah.
Like everybody watched it, but I think everyone also wished it would.
Everyone was like
a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Acolyte is so the thing that really surprised me about Acolyte. And we've maintained on this channel before, we think it's mid, like, and it's fine. Could be a lot better. Was not anywhere close to as bad as some of the Screaming Man Babies said it was. I could not believe that they spent $180 million on that show.
Yeah.
And it's like, on what? Like, did it all go to Carrie Ann Moss?
I don't know.
Because they had a couple of big name actors.
Yeah.
So like Carrie Ann Moss and Lee Jung Jae. So Lee Jung Jae isn't quite as big of a deal as Carrie Ann Moss, but like Squid Game took the world by storm when we were all like in lockdown.
And that man learned English for this role. And
I think he was a big get for the show. I know I've seen the rumors about Keanu Reeves was supposed to be that role, and
that would have been even more expensive. Like you'd be paying like $200 million at that point.
Yeah, and it's like how much of this money went to casting? Because like Carrie Ann Moss, I imagine, doesn't go for cheap at all.
No.
And they didn't do the volume a lot.
They did a lot of practical stuff. They did like
fucking Daphne Keane, which you also wouldn't expect to get very cheaply. Like she's and well, I guess Manny Jacinto is more of a TV actor, so he's probably cheaper than like Carrie Ann Moss.
Maybe.
And a lot of the environments look pretty good, but
costumes are nice.
Yeah, but they're all like 28-minute episodes. It's like that 28, if you divide it out, 28 minutes was like, however X number of like tens of millions of dollars. And it's like, what are you laundering?
Yeah.
Like
that's almost as expensive as Andor was. And Andor not only had episodes that were twice as long, but like
full length episodes,
put just as much effort into props and costumes and sets and everything.
Yeah. And was better written. And I think that maybe they report $180 million
as just like a tax write-off.
Yes. Okay. Because of like, the movie industry, Hollywood, they try to write everything they make off as a loss so they don't have to pay taxes, which is another entirely shitty thing that we could talk about for hours, and how they fucked David Prowse, the original physical actor for Vader. That George Lucas was, by the way, directly involved in fucking him over as well. Yeah. So just when we're like, next time you're like, oh, fucking George Lucas, like, no, he was kind of a piece of shit sometimes too. It is crazy to me. $180 million. And it's like crazy. Yeah. Now the
Hollywood Reporter piece quotes a Disney guy at an investor meeting responding to criticism of how they're managing it by saying that they've made $12 billion on Star Wars.
Yeah.
So that you have to take away the $4 billion that they paid George Lucas originally.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of napkin math and like tried to aim high as far as like costs for things. By my reckoning, they spent something like $3 billion on all the various shows.
Yeah.
Like movies, shows, and animated shows. And
all the films, I think even Solo made money.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't think any of them were in the negative.
Yeah, but by my reckoning, they've made something like $5 billion off Star Wars profit.
Which is to say nothing
and this is another point they make in the piece. Compared to the mounds of cash they make from the Disney parks.
Yeah.
Star Wars does gangbusters at Disney World.
Not so much the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Oh, yeah. Well, they mentioned that in the piece. They're like, except for this one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a colossally bad idea because it turns out people don't like being locked in a hotel for a week.
Yeah.
With
their kids.
With kids running
They're like, we hate these fucking... Why did we agree to this?
Yeah.
I don't even like my kids. Why are we here?
I'm just going to be at the bar for the next week. Kid, you can run around and do whatever.
I'm going to adopt you off to someone else. God, I hope you get kidnapped.
But fucking Galaxy's Edge is selling shit tons of lightsabers, though. So.
Oh yeah, they make so much money on toys and the licensing and all that other bullshit. So I think mostly the answer is, are they doing a good job? It's a wash, right?
Yeah.
They've had some notable failures. They've had some notable successes. I mean, Force Awakens made them so much money. It's fucking ridiculous.
They've also announced a shit ton of stuff that that has just never happened.
That's another thing they mention. It's like,
some of it is not their fault.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't know that fucking
these are hired.
What's her name was going to go on social media and be a total terrible person.
Oh, like Gina Carano.
Yeah,
you mean?
Gina Carano.
But also like So yeah, you can't
control that,
right?
But like you could also just maybe not give an entire trilogy to Benioff and Weiss after they finished fucking up the ending of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, or they like the Patty Jenkins Rogue One thing,
which was announced, was canceled, was reannounced, was recanceled. I think it's happening again.
I think she thinks it's happening.
Yeah,
and who the fuck knows about Taika Waititi, which they announced?
I don't think he's actually written anything.
Yeah, these are all like official announcements of they even made like a little weird trailer for Patty Jenkins's thing.
Yeah,
and it's like never mind.
So like the money people at Disney and the creative people are clearly not on the same page.
Famously, we found out that the higher ups at Disney were leaning on Kathleen Kennedy really hard to announce stuff that wasn't ready to be announced yet, which happens in that industry all the time. And I bet that there was a conversation where Kathleen Kennedy was like, that might not happen. And they're like,
don't
announce
care.
it anyway. Yeah.
The shareholders demand it.
Yeah.
Fucking make us more money.
Yeah. Rakesh says 28 minutes an episode, not including end credits and the previously on at the front end.
True.
Like, motherfuckers.
They will do anything to inflate their run times.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some stuff that we watched this week.
Okay. Where are we starting with?
Agatha All Along.
Alrighty.
Oh, this episode. Let's do a spoiler free real quick.
Okay.
So, speaking of a 28-minute episode, this is like a 30-minute episode. However, I feel like it was better served, and I think that they used it better than the stuff we've seen in Star Wars.
They've kept the scope small enough that they can get everything they need to into an episode, and it still has a little bit of time to breathe. Yeah.
Well, this one actually, there wasn't a lot of breathing at all. It went at a clip.
Yes.
Yeah, and the performances, I think, are always going to be solid with what they have.
You just have a fantastic cast.
Yeah. I really do love the Wizard of Oz looking soundstage feel of the Witch's Road, and like everything in there is handmade. Like in the last episode, the demon that's like flying around, like most of that demon when he's like perched up on the thing, like that was a practical fucking someone made that, and it flapped his wings and shit, and like a lot of that shit looks like it
looks realer than the CG shit.
Yeah, but also it conjures a vibe,
a little bit of whimsy.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. And this episode went just batshit on a couple of things, which I really loved. And
I like that they will occasionally just give us these little hints of like witch lore and how magic works.
Yeah.
Like
and the fact that there are goofy little things about like Patti LuPone's character being really like pissy about witches riding brooms, because witches have been co-opted by the Halloween industry and all this other shit. Like it's like funny shit like that. Yeah. It's really neat. So this show isn't being as aggressively attacked as like Acolyte was, which is good, but the same people.
Do you think they've gotten the memo that you can't attack Patti LuPone?
I don't, honest to God, a million people could bitch about Patti LuPone on Facebook or social media. And not only would she not give a fuck, she probably would never know about it.
Yeah.
Because she's just she's just kind of disconnected from all that shit anyway. So it's all the predictable actors in this,
Of course.
And there are gay characters, and that's a big problem.
There are so many gay characters.
There are black characters, and that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And there's the whole religious crowd about the whole witchcraft thing. And it's like, your religion isn't real. Who the fuck cares?
Your religion is just as real as the magic.
Yeah. So shut the fuck up and let us enjoy a good fucking Patti LuPone scene, for fuck's sake. All right. Let's get into spoilers. We are spoiling this. Also, if I offended your religion just now, I'm very sorry.
You're not actually sorry.
I'm sorry that you felt offended.
Okay.
It's a non-apology apology.
The classic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I let anyone down.
I should go into politics. I'd be very good. Okay, so they're coming fresh off this trial that they
So previously there was a little campfire, and then they all laid down.
Fucking Joe Locke almost died and shit.
Yeah.
I think Rio and Agatha might have fucked in the bushes somewhere.
No.
I don't know.
I get the vibe that they have fucked previously, but they are not fucking now.
I think they might have been dry humping in the bushes somewhere.
Okay.
Because so Rio had the flower that she kind of produces when she comes into the Witch's Road, and then Agatha has it for some reason.
Okay. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's a Disney show. You can't say they were fucking.
Anyway.
So they're coming off of the last thing where they fix Alice's problem and shit, and they're continuing along the Witch's Road. Now the problem is to get going again, they had to conjure a green witch.
Yes.
And they conjured April Ludgate from Parks and Rec. Now the problem is apparently that created a door that I think Rio left open on purpose just to see what would happen.
That seems like something she would do.
And now who's here? Well, it's the Salem 7. And it's cool. They all have their own little animals. Yep. Like one of them's a coyote, one of them's a cicada, which, by the way, everyone in Illinois is like, oh, for fuck's sake, cicadas again.
Guys.
There's a fox and an owl.
Yeah.
There's a rat.
They all have their little fursonas.
Yeah.
And
did you say fursonas?
Yes.
You motherfucker.
So Patti LuPone wakes up in a cold sweat because she had a premonition nightmare.
And she just says weird things.
Yeah. They're coming after us. We got to go.
Yeah.
So they all take off running, and they hear a howl in front of them. Like, shit, we got to turn around. And there's a howl behind them. Like, well, fuck, now what do we do?
Well, don't they exposit a little bit about the Salem 7? I think Lilia talks about...
Yes. After Agatha killed all the witches in her coven.
Which was seen in WandaVision.
Yes.
Yeah.
She left the kids around. And...
Which...
Okay, understandable.
That was nice.
Yeah.
You didn't send the kids to go see the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Unfortunately, those kids decided to get together and decided they wanted to send Agatha to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
It turns out that they all might have taken having all of their parents murdered a little personally.
Yeah.
And
so Agatha's like, so moral of the story here.
I love this.
Finish what you start. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
And she does the cool little cape twirl.
All this, she's so over the top. Okay, so we get a look of all these witches, and there's something about do you think that they're this way in private with one another?
Yes.
Like when they're just hanging out?
100%. They commit to the bit.
Or are they just doing this when they know people are watching?
I don't think they can turn it off.
Because they are crawling in weird contortionist ways, and their movements are very animalistic and weird and shit, and they sniff things, and they they lick shit, and they track them a little bit. So when they were conjuring Rio, Patti LuPone puts a piece of obsidian down, and they find that,
and they're sniffing it.
Yeah, they lick it, and they're like, "Oh, this is Agatha and shit." And they all talk. They're like, "Agatha," and so Patti LuPone obviously is like, "Oh, okay, well, we might actually be in trouble." Yeah. And I think the owl, they're talking, and then Joe Locke looks up, and there's just an owl
And he's like, oh, look, it's an owl. And he's like, fuck you. And like turns into a witch and like pounces on him.
Well, you're skipping ahead because like at this point, they know they're surrounded. They're in this narrow stretch of the road. And Joe Locke is like, well, shit, why don't we just get some brooms and fly away? And everyone's like, you motherfucker.
Well,
do you know how the fucking Halloween industrial complex has co-opted that from us?
Which was hilarious. Everyone said no, except for Rio, who said yes. Like she really wanted to get on her broom.
Yeah.
And so they, and this is their only option.
Yeah.
So like they have to do it, much to Patty LuPone's dismay.
So they all like start grabbing.
I thought this was kind of neat.
Yeah. And, like tying them together and making brooms.
Yeah. They pull, hold on a second. They pull off the roots, like to the tree and shit to make like little brooms. And I thought it was a neat, it's a neat thing in this universe with magical brooms, apparently, that they don't take the broom that they want to enchant for themselves. They take the broom that they want to enchant for a partner.
Yes.
And they do a little dance and then they gift the broom to one another.
Each other and then you can fly.
And they even like decorate it a little bit. Like one of them has like some like they decorative flowers and shit.
Yeah, that they mentioned that it's an exercise in trust or something like we fly together or we don't fly at all.
Yeah. And so they get up on their fucking brooms.
Make their brooms and fucking go flying.
And they have a very Steven Spielberg-esque flight in front of the blood moon.
With some really good music.
Yes, the music's great. Rio is having the time of her life. Yeah. It's like she was waiting to fly on a fucking broom. Also, I'm pretty sure she knows that she's not in any danger.
I'm pretty sure she's usually having the time of her life, honestly. Like, she just gives off that vibe.
And they fuck off from them pretty quick. But then, like, the witches...
Unfortunately, the witches are always like, nah, you gotta come
it's
back.
like, this is actually technically cheating.
Yeah.
And they turn them upside down, and all of them have their own reaction, where they're all screaming because they're crashing back to Earth. And
Rio's like, yeah!
No, she's not screaming yet. She's literally doing a Wicked Witch of the West evil witch cackle.
Yeah.
And so not only is Rio having the time of her life, why do I not remember this actor's name all of a sudden?
Which one?
Rio. I know her by so many names. I know her as April Ludgate from Parks and Rec, and she's Rio from this. And
what is her name?
I would ask, who over there?
She who must not be named.
He's a he. Yeah. Hold on a second. April Ludgate actor. Aubrey Plaza. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not only is Rio having the time of her life, but I think Aubrey Plaza is like, finally I get to play a witch. And this is so much fun. And they all come crashing down back to Earth. But
right in front of the next trial.
Right. And also safe for the moment from their
so they're like, great, let's
pursuers.
just fucking get inside, we'll do the trial and keep going, and Salem 7 can't follow us.
Did you notice that Agatha and Rio they do the little broom thing for each other? Like they do that
very reluctantly.
Yes.
Like Agatha really doesn't want to.
Yes. So they find a cabin in the woods, which looks like it's probably straight out of an 80s slasher film.
They get inside, everyone is in pajamas from an 80s sleepover.
Joe Locke is wearing a blue headband and a red shirt, which is exactly what Billy Kaplan is known to wear in the comics, and is what Billy Maximoff wore in the Halloween episode of WandaVision. And I like how like Katie Hahn is wearing she's like got the oversized sports jersey.
It's purple.
Yeah. And like they've all, I was born in the late 80s. So like, of course I don't remember this time. But
it's all very Scream or fucking
right.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out. They all have their watches, which is like a particular brand that's from this time period and everything. They're looking for clues, and fucking Rio
Ouija board just falls on the floor.
Rio kind of notes that the trial must be for Agatha. That it must be Agatha's trial. And they talk about the blood moon a little bit and the thinness of the veil between life and death and shit.
Yep.
And Rio drops a hint, just a little passive comment about Agatha's history of just killing people.
A little passive aggressive there.
And then Teen finds the
Ouija board.
The MacGuffin for this one, which is a Ouija board. They have 30 minutes to solve the mystery, right?
I like how he reads the instructions like Spanish, Chinese. Oh, here we go. English. Yeah. Do not taunt the spirits.
Yes.
Do not take your fingers off the slidey thingy.
Yeah. So
always end on goodbye.
Yeah. Also, there's some cool details. Like the packaging is from the right manufacturer at the time, which was based in Salem, Massachusetts. In real life, and everything. But yeah, so they're gonna sit down at the Ouija board and they're gonna figure out what they have to do, and they all gather around, and there is, by the way, there is an effect that has been scientifically studied, by the way, and it is commonly seen manifested in Ouija boards, where when you have a bunch of people doing it, they are controlling it, but it's the power of suggestion.
Yeah.
And that's how people get so convinced that this is real, because they're all pushing it around, but they're also susceptible to, the social pressure of being involved in the thing. And it becomes hard to tell if it's like, if something crazy is happening or not. So they sit down and spell out a name of like, who of the dead world wants to blah blah.
Who is this? It's Mrs. Hart.
Yeah. Which I immediately knew was weird because Sharon did not like being called Mrs. Hart. However, cue this hilarious fucking bit where Katie Hahn does her Deborah Rudd impression. And it's hilarious. And there's a thing about getting plugged into conspiracy theories on Facebook and building
drinking before noon
and baking a casserole and shit. And they realize that she's just making it up.
Like, Agatha, can you fucking stop?
Yeah.
And she's like, come on.
Yeah.
That was good, right?
I thought it was funny. Like, Rio, of course, is the one that's like, knock it off. Like, of course you're faking it. And I thought it was funny that, like, Joe Locke reads all the rules from the book, and she's the first one to break them by taunting the dead. Yeah. Right? And so they sit back down again to do... to do it real.
Do it for real. Yeah.
And the board spells out that they are speaking to death.
Oh, that's not very good.
It's weird because Rio's expression is kind of weird. I'm pretty sure Rio's death anyway. Yeah. And there's good evidence to support this. I don't think she's a green witch at all, which like, I don't know how she got down there. And they ask what Death wants, and Death wants to punish Agatha.
So they're like, okay, I guess we're going to fucking punish Agatha. Yeah. Let's fucking tie her up and taunt her and, cut her up. And...
And something happens. And then all of a sudden, Agatha is...
It's like perched up on the roof and like all white and zombified.
She's the girl from The Exorcist. They made the makeup look like it and everything. And
she drops around, starts crackling around, doing all freaky shit.
It freaks the fuck out of Teen, by the way. He was like almost screaming at the top of his lungs. And they like there's like a little chase scene. And then this wisp of like mist comes down the fucking loft stairway and turns into Agatha's mother, who we see, who is the same actor that plays her in WandaVision. Yeah. And she's pretty much like, okay, here's the deal. The best way to punish Agatha is for you guys to complete the Witch's Road without her. So you leave her with me and you guys go on. And Teen doesn't like this idea.
Agatha's like, please don't.
Yes. She says during this scene, she tells Agatha that she was born evil and that she should have killed her the second she gave birth to her. And everyone, even the people that don't like Agatha in this group, are like, God damn.
That's a little harsh.
That's fucking, yeah. And so she like tries to possess Agatha, right? And in an attempt to save her,
Alice is like, fuck no, I'm going to do my protection shit.
Yeah. And she succeeds. Yeah. She gets the spirit out of her.
Ghost out.
And then in a moment of I think inspired, so Agatha realizing that she's safe, but also that she can take this magic, decides to take the magic.
I don't know that it was a conscious decision.
I think it was. I think that she realized what was happening. She had, and even Teen tells her later on, like, you could have stopped, because she claims that she couldn't have stopped. Yeah. But she was like, oh, what's this? And then she's like, oh, I'm taking all of it. And Alice apparently dies.
Yeah. Gets
falls over fucking
dry.
Yeah.
All withered and shit.
Yeah. And this is a huge shock for everyone. And it's a shock for the audience because like we just had her bit the last episode and she banished her demon and shit and she protected everyone and everything. I have a feeling maybe she's not actually dead.
Maybe.
I saw a theory about how this wasn't actually Agatha's trial.
Also possible.
Also, you want to hear something crazy that I found out?
What's
so you
that?
know, like in this episode too, Patty LuPone just says weird shit, and like in this one, even Joe Locke's like, "Oh, Patty LuPone saying weird shit again." Someone took all of her phrases that she says, and if you arrange them chronologically, episode by episode, all the bits that she says, and then read them from right to left, it's Alice, don't save Agatha.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're doing some timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly bullshit. But like there's something weird going on.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
So Agatha fucks off.
Yeah, so the door
Teen
opens.
runs
Agatha
after
walks
her.
out.
Fucking Potions Lady and Patty LuPone run after her. Rio suspiciously missing.
Well, on her way out, Agatha and Rio sort of share a look.
I think she knows that Rio's death, and I think it's a dead person, and she has to do her work, right? They get outside, and Teen fucking goes off on her. Now, before this happens, a very important moment inside the trial, what ends the entire trial was that while all this crazy shit's happening, while Alice is being sucked dry, the Ouija board starts going fucking crazy. And Joe Locke runs over and looks
to goodbye.
Yeah. Well, no, he looks at what it's spelling out and he reads it, which is Nicholas Scratch, the name of Agatha's kid, which stops her. She stops doing what she was doing and everything. It's like it like flipped a switch in her head or something. So they get out and Teen confronts her about it and was like, you could have stopped. You're fucking terrible. You know, we're never talking again. We're not friends anymore. And Agatha fucking in a weird fucking voice too was like, you are just like your mother. Cups his little chin. And Joe Locke loses it.
What he says is that like I'm not into doing the same shit you are, just killing people to get my own ends.
Right.
And she says, aren't you?
Yeah, and another really creepy voice, by the way. I don't know, but maybe she's possessed or maybe she was
I don't think
Agatha all along.
I think that's just Agatha.
Yeah, and she's the actual villain of the story, which I think would be fucking cool because I think we have a hero now in the story because Joe Locke
does
something happens.
Some blue shit.
He's able to get some magic going, and there's this like he possesses Potions Lady and Patty LuPone, and like it's in their head. Their eyes are fucking glowing blue. They take Agatha and dump her in the mud, and then he throws them in the mud.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm not really sure why. And they pan over. End of the fucking episode is Teen Joe Locke with a crown that looks just like Wanda's crown from WandaVision. And a needle drop Billie Eilish's
You should see me in a crown.
Yeah. And that's how it ends. And it's like, okay, so we have confirmation now that this is Billy Kaplan.
If any was needed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of obvious all along, but
now the question is, are they doing Billy Kaplan or Billy Maximoff? Are they getting into the comics with the Mephisto thing or like all that other bullshit? I don't know. However, the reveal had me very excited because he's one of my favorite comic characters in the MCU. And I also think that Joe Locke has been just playing the shit out of that part the entire show so far.
Really well.
And I'm kind of excited to see. I imagine maybe we get like a flashback episode maybe with his whole deal.
Maybe
because the reveal is cool, but it asks way more questions than it answers because like. Billy's supposed to be Wanda's son, but he's from Eastview and he's got a boyf and everything. Like it's like he's got this whole history, you know? So, who the fuck knows? All right. Okay. Here's the thing with The Penguin.
Okay.
It premieres on Sunday.
Yes.
And we like this show a lot, but it's not big enough for us to change our entire show schedule around. So if you're watching this live, you're seeing us talk about this the day before the next episode comes out. If you're watching this when the podcast drops, the new episode happened yesterday, and like this, we're an episode behind.
Completely irrelevant, but fuck it, we like the show. And we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a few minutes and talk about it. We learn a lot about the spoilers for the Penguin, by the way. We learn a lot about Vic in this episode.
God, Vic and Oz have the most fucked up relationship.
It's pretty.
It
toxic.
is so toxic.
But at times it seems kind of sweet though, because it like maybe it's because Penguin's a really good manipulator. I don't know.
He's manipulative, and he like.
It seems like he genuinely cares about him, though, which is crazy. Like,
kind of.
It's not like the Palpatine Anakin thing where he doesn't care about him at all. It's just a means to an end.
He reminds me of your mother.
My mom's not that smart.
True.
He's pretty smart.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's a narcissist.
Yeah, that's true.
My mom famously is a narcissist. If you've ever met her. I think he definitely has a social disorder.
Yeah,
right?
he's like sweet and like trying to give advice to Vic, and like says, we never agreed on your salary, have $1,000,
right?
And then he turns around and like the bathroom scene thing, he pulls out fucking guns. This is what it's like being with me.
Yeah, I think he has I think he's got an antisocial personality disorder. I don't think it's narcissism. I think he has this insane fear of losing people he cares about, because we know that his brothers died. Mm-hmm. His mother is having some problems with dementia and everything, and I think that he saw something. I think he saw a little bit of himself in Vic when he met him because of his stutter, because he has this flaw, right?
Disability.
Yeah, just like Oz with his foot and shit. And I think he likes him, and I think he wants him to do well. But at the same time,
he's just so warped by years of working for the mob that like,
and having his own ambition to run everything, and believe, maybe he's a narcissist. He believes that he should be the head of it all, you know. And I like that we get a flashback on the day that the Matt Reeves Batman finale happens, and the Riddler blows up the seawall around Gotham, and we get that from Victor's perspective, which was very well done. I thought he was talking to a girlfriend, and they think it's fireworks at first, and it's
the fucking bombs going on, and city flooding. It's
terrible, and he has to watch his home and his family, who we all meet before this, die in this fucking terrible terrorist attack, right? And
this was like a week ago,
right?
In the show's chronology.
Right. I don't know how he's like. Maybe he's still in shock. Maybe I'm not really sure, but he like the fact that this didn't happen that long ago, and he's still like trying to process shit.
Yeah.
But basically, we get all that to know that there was a girl he was sweet on, and also he's also got this tendency. It's not nearly as bad as Penguin, but he saw his dad doing work for people and not charging what he should charge just to be a nice guy when he could be charging a lot more and getting a lot more, and this idea that like, if it's out there, you get it. Like you reach out and take it, which is an instinct that Penguin is like feeding, right?
Like when Penguin starts paying him, he's like, "Here, you have $1,000," and you should always ask for what you're worth. And Vic says, "Okay, give me $2,000."
Yeah.
Penguin's like, "Yeah, just like that."
But no. Yeah. So there's this whole bit about, I don't know where this fly, do a Donald Trump. Oh, there's a fly. Yeah. There were never flies before. No one knows anything about flies. So there's this whole thing about, Sophia and Penguin are trying to get this. So we find out what the miracle drug is. Bliss. It's hallucinogenic from a mushroom.
Mushrooms. Yeah.
That they
causes
used
euphoria.
Yeah. They used it at Arkham to,
keep the patients sedated and controllable.
Turns out it's very well formulated, works very, very well. And so now it
comes from mushrooms that bleed.
Yeah. Real life mushrooms, by the way. They bleed this sap, the bleeding tooth, something or other.
So now they need a distribution infrastructure.
Yes, because the Falcons are shutting down theirs, and they can't use the Maronis.
Right. Because Penguin keeps accidentally burning bridges.
Yeah.
That he's trying to juggle all this shit, And so they meet up with a guy named Feng Zhao.
From the Chinatown guys.
Right.
The Triad.
And they work out a thing with them.
Like, all right, look, we're going to take over the Falcone family. We got this new drug. It's going to make a ton of money. We just need you to help distribute it. And the lieutenant they talk to is like, oh, yeah? So you got people on the inside, right? And they're like, yeah, we got people on the inside. Like, who? Is like, Johnny Vitti.
Johnny, which, by the way, is such a fucking gangster name.
Yeah. He's like, okay.
Hey, Johnny Vitti. So they have blackmail because he's
fucking the boss's wife.
Yeah. So they have that on him.
Yeah.
And they need Vitti
to call the Triad boss
and say he's in on it. Yeah. And so I think that they were they catch him fucking the boss's wife, and they're like,
tell the wife, get the fuck out.
While you're in here, call this guy for us.
Yeah.
And but welcome to the new business, by the way.
He's like, I'm not gonna call shit. You guys are fucking amateur hour. It's not gonna go well for you. And also, Penguin, you're a fucking jackass.
Yeah.
And Penguin's like jamming the phone into his mouth.
Yeah.
Do I still a fuck up to you?
Yeah.
He pulls out like, make the fucking call.
Yeah.
Come on.
He asserts some dominance.
Yeah.
And
so what we have learned from this show is do not make fun of the Penguin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first fucking episode.
Yeah, first episode, he fucking shoots him because he's making fun of him.
Which, by the way, what a great fucking impulse. You just see within a second, you see that he's like, ugh, and then it shoots the fucking guy. That's cool character development.
It almost reminds me of Kill Bill. Anytime that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's a jazz tune. That's from a jazz tune that the dude that wrote. Is it Henry Mancini? No, it's not Henry Mancini. It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
So they do a trial run of the drug at the club. At the club.
So Vic is the bag man. He has a backpack full of all this drug, and they have some women of ill repute who are helping to
ladies of the night.
Ladies of the night, yes, who are helping to sell this and demo it, and it's a big hit. Everyone loves it.
Yeah.
So Penguin and Sophia go talk to the boss, and they're like, look, we got this.
Everyone's high as fuck.
Yeah, everyone's high as fuck. They're having a great time.
They're willing to pay literally any amount of money for it.
Yeah, so let's fucking do business. And the Triad boss is like, well, you see, I don't think you guys are going to be around for very long. And also, I fucking hated your dad. So, no. And Sophia's like, well, I fucking hated my dad too, and we're going to be around for a lot longer than you think. So fuck off. I'm going to go smoke. Oz, finish the deal for me, will you?
Doesn't even respect the man enough to stick around to see what he says. Because she's like, honestly, say yes, say no, I don't fucking care, and walks off. Yep. Delegates quite a bit to Penguin, by the way.
We didn't mention earlier, while Oz and Sophia were out looking at the mushrooms, Vic invites his lady friend, Graciela,
something like that,
Graciela, over to Penguin's place, and she says, Gotham's a shithole. I'm going to California on a bus tomorrow. Come with me.
Leaving.
He's like, I don't know if I can.
And then it's like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
And then so Penguin finds out about this, and
so
first of all, he has a panic.
Closed the deal.
He has a panic attack in the club, which is really actually kind of sad. He closes the deal. They meet up in the bathroom for some reason.
Well, because Vic is still recovering from his PTSD.
Right. Penguin sees the text on the phone, and
he's like, "You fucking leave it?
Yeah,
you going somewhere?"
And
you taking my money with you?
Yeah, I don't think Vic was ever going to. Actually,
yeah, it's the classic situation where he's kind of torn between two things. Because, on the one hand, he has a pretty good job. He has a mentor figure,
and he tells her when she visits. He says something. He's like, he's kind of lonely, and I think we're friends.
I think.
Yeah.
He tolerates me.
Yeah,
most of the time. I think when he isn't threatening to kill me.
There's a weird relationship there that I think boils down to the fact that I think Penguin thinks he's being a mentor figure, and
Vic, who
He's
just
doing
lost his
an
entire family.
incredibly shitty job.
Yeah,
of it.
I think he's doing the job that he thinks he should be doing.
Yeah.
Which it's just like get therapy and
Yeah.
don't ever have kids.
Vic has lost his entire family. He has no one to really go to. Like it's Penguin, or it's going back to the guys that he was stealing hubcaps with.
Right. One of them got shot in the head,
Yeah.
so he's not around anymore.
Yeah.
They show him in the flashback.
Yeah. I was gonna say, in the flashback, is that gang that shows up on the rooftop, is that the same guys that he's trying to steal Penguin's wheels with?
Yes, and the blonde kid is the one that got shot. So he just caps right in the head.
Yeah.
And then Scorpion or whatever the fuck was someone else.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, he
tells him, fucking go, get out. Like, you could have left any time you wanted, but I guess if you're just gonna go, then go.
Yeah. And he does. He just fucking takes Penguin's car.
Yeah.
Goes down to the bus stop. Sees his girl get on the bus, doesn't get on with her, watches her drive away, and he's made his choice.
Yep.
Throughout this whole thing, Sophia and Penguin have
They have history,
and also Penguin's trying to get her to trust him, right? Because he is more or less responsible for her going to Arkham in the first place.
He was her driver at one point, and yeah, he got her sent to Arkham.
It turns out that she probably isn't the Hangman.
Probably not.
Because she literally says, I am not the Hangman.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, I guess you'd know.
I mean, you're obviously a little mentally disturbed anyway. So, which might have been a result of Arkham.
Yeah.
Who knows? So she's outside the club smoking and asks him, like,
he comes to celebrate. Fucking deal's done.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's like, great, super. Also, you're a dickhead.
Yeah, but there's a resolution a little bit, and then she says,
like, she's been asking him all episode, was it worth it?
Yeah,
getting me sent away, and finally he says, yeah, it was worth it. Like, I moved up in the world, I got a lot of money.
I feathered my bottom line, and I improved. So yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, it was worth it. And she's like, you're a fucking dickhead.
But
you're even more of a dickhead than I thought.
Yeah, but thanks for being honest, I guess. And she tells him, like, I don't know how to trust you, and he's like, well, let me just keep,
let me just
showing you how. Yeah. And then fucking
who should pull up?
Yeah.
With the fucking Maronis popping out of a van with guns.
Right as Vic is coming back from the bus station.
Yeah. And they're like, you motherfucker, Penguin, you thought you could just get away with fucking us over? And they got Sophia and Oz just kneeling in the parking lot.
Yeah, they're probably gonna shoot him.
And Vic comes back and sees this. It was like, oh shit.
He pulls a Walter White and fucking
drives right into the gunman.
Rescues Penguin. They get into the car. Vic says, what about Sophia? And he's like, fuck Sophia. And they just drive off. And it's like, bro, all you had to do was open the door and get her in.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get this woman to trust you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is going to happen after this?
I think what's going through his mind is, I was planning to get rid of her anyway. So
maybe
if the Maronis are just want to kill her for me, that's a-okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the Penguin in a nutshell. We will be back next week. Same time, same place,
Probably
talking about some of the same shit. Yeah. And whatever else happens. Right after this, here in a few minutes, we're going to do some buzzed recap of the Game of Thrones variety. Hope you can make it. Otherwise, tomorrow, Gungans and Dragons, 7 o'clock, which is also turning out to be a lot of fun too. So thanks, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.